They told them that rock and roll was a man's world. They said it was too loud, too raw, too dangerous for women. They said women should sing softly, stand still, look pretty, and leave the real rocking to the boys. And every single one of the women on this list heard those words, looked the music industry dead in the eye, turned the amplifier up to 11, and played louder than anyone had ever played before.
Just like the wide-winged dove sings a song and stands up.
Rock and roll has always been the music of rebellion. It has always been the sound of people who refuse to accept the world as it is given to them. And nobody in the entire history of this genre has embodied that rebellious spirit more completely, more ferociously, and more brilliantly than the women who fought their way into a genre that tried to shut them out at every turn. They did not just survive in rock music. They defined it. They wrote its greatest anthems. They bled for its credibility. They shaped its identity. And they changed every single one of us who has ever turned the volume all the way up and felt for the first time truly understood. Welcome to Rock and Riffs. I am your host. And today, we are counting down 10 female rock artists who did not just play the game. They rewrote every single rule of it. From pioneers who cracked open the door in the 1950s and 60s to brand new voices, proving that female rock is as alive today as it has ever been. This is your definitive guide to the queens of the riff. Buckle up. This is going to be loud. Number 10. Wet Leg Chaise Longue. We come now to number 10, the newest name on this list, the most recent and most exciting evidence that rock music is not a relic, not a nostalgic exercise, not something that belongs exclusively to the decades we have been discussing tonight. Rock music is alive. It is breathing and kicking and writing brilliant songs and selling out festival stages and earning Grammy nominations. And the two women at the center of its most exciting recent chapter are Rian Teasdale and Hester Chambers, who performed together under the name Wet Leg. Wet Leg formed in 2019 on the Isle of Wight, a small island off the southern coast of England, when Rian and Hester, who had been friends for years, finally decided to start making music together and see what would happen. Their debut single, Chaise Longue, was released in June of 2021, and what happened next was one of the most remarkable organic breakouts in recent rock history. The song is about lying on a piece of furniture, feeling simultaneously fabulous and completely lost, navigating the specific absurdity of being alive and young in the 21st century. And it delivers all of this subject matter with a deadpan wit and a guitar hook so immediately infectious that it spread from person to person like something genuinely in the water. Within weeks, they were being played on BBC Radio 6. Within months, they were playing major festivals. Within a year, they were one of the most talked about new bands anywhere in the world. Their self-titled debut album, released in 2022, was critically acclaimed across the board by every publication that covered it seriously. It is a record that manages to be genuinely funny and genuinely moving at the same time, which is one of the hardest combinations in all of songwriting to pull off with any consistency. Songs like Wet Dream and Mum deploy Rian's perfectly dry, almost conversational vocal delivery to say things that are surprising and a little uncomfortable and completely, recognizably true. Songs like Too Late Now and Angelica reveal a more vulnerable side, a willingness to go somewhere emotionally raw and honest, underneath all the wit and irony that makes their best-known songs so distinctive. At the 2026 Grammy Awards, their second album, Moisturizer, was nominated for Best Alternative Album, placing them in the company of the biggest alternative acts in the world and confirming what anyone who had been paying attention already knew, that Wet Leg are not a moment. They are a career. They are the living proof that the tradition of fearless, original, guitar-driven music made by women is not ending. It is regenerating right now, finding new voices and new sounds and new ways to say things that still desperately need to be said. The songs you need from Wet Leg are Chaise Longue, Wet Dream, Mum, Angelica, Too Late Now, Oh No, and Convincing. Listen to them and feel completely reassured about the future of rock music. Number 9. Karen O. Yeah Yeah Yeah's Maps. If you are enjoying this, do well to like, share, and subscribe to keep connected.
Sunday, Glastonbury, yeah, yeah, yeah!
We move now into the 21st century. Garage rock is having a revival. New York City is once again the beating heart of the rock universe. The Strokes, the White Stripes, Interpol, LCD Sound System are all redefining what guitar music can do and be in the new millennium. And standing right in the middle of all of it, louder and stranger and more theatrically committed than any of them, is a frontwoman who seems to have arrived from a slightly parallel dimension, where rock music and performance art are not two separate things but one single discipline. That frontwoman is Karen O of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Karen Lee Orzolek was born in New Jersey in 1978 to a Korean father and an American mother and grew up in the suburbs of New York City. She met guitarist Nick Zinner and drummer Brian Chase at Oberlin College in Ohio, and the three of them moved to New York and formed Yeah Yeah Yeahs in the year 2000. From their very first performances, it was clear they were operating on a different level from the bands around them. Nick Zinner's guitar work was jagged and brilliantly unconventional. Brian Chase's drumming was relentless and propulsive. And Karen O was something that genuinely had no precedent. A frontwoman who treated the stage as a total environment, who spat water at crowds and delivered performances so physically committed and so emotionally complete that watching her was like watching someone transform in real time into something that did not have a name yet. Their debut album, Fever to Tell, released in 2003, is one of the defining records of its decade. It builds to Maps, which is the emotional heart of the record and one of the truly great rock songs of the 2000s by any reasonable measure. Maps was reportedly written for Karen O's then-boyfriend, who nearly missed the recording session entirely. The story goes that when he finally walked into the studio, she was so overwhelmed with relief that she cried through the entire vocal take. Whether that exact version of events is true or not, you can hear something in her voice on that recording that sounds like real relief, real love, and real fear of losing something important. That quality of emotional immediacy, that refusal to put any distance between herself and the feeling she was singing about, is what made the Yeah Yeah Yeahs impossible to ignore or dismiss. Karen O also composed the score for Spike Jonze's film Where the Wild Things Are in 2009, demonstrating a compositional range that extended far beyond any single genre. She released a solo album called Crush Songs in 2014 that is intimate and spare, and completely unlike anything the Yeah Yeah Yeahs had made together. And it is equally rewarding in its own quiet way. The songs you need from Karen O and Yeah Yeah Yeahs are Maps, Heads Will Roll, Zero, Date with the Night, Gold Lion, Y Control, and Cheated Hearts. Listen to them and you will understand immediately why this woman belongs on any serious list of the greatest rock front women who ever lived. Number 8. Debbie Harry, Blondie Heart of Glass. We stay in New York. We stay in the late 1970s downtown scene, but we shift the register entirely. Because while Patti Smith was the intellectual soul of that movement, Debbie Harry was its most glamorous, most subversive, and most completely original face. Where Patti went deep into the underground, Debbie went wide into the mainstream. Where Patti rejected commercial music entirely, Debbie infiltrated it from the inside. And in doing so, she pulled off one of the great tricks in rock history. She used pop stardom as a vehicle for ideas and attitudes that the mainstream would never have accepted if it had fully understood what it was getting. and Debbie Harry was born in Miami, Florida in 1945 and adopted as an infant. She grew up in New Jersey and moved to New York in her 20s, waitressed and struggled and searched for her place in the city before co-founding Blondie in 1974 with guitarist Chris Stein. They were part of the same downtown CBGB scene as Patti Smith and Television and the Ramones, playing the same small stages, building a following one show at a time. But Blondie had something that set them apart from the beginning, an almost supernatural gift for melody combined with Debbie Harry's extraordinary ability to inhabit a song completely, to make you believe every word she was singing, even when the song itself was built on deliberate irony and playful subversion. Their 1978 album Parallel Lines is one of the great albums of its era, a record that managed to be punk and pop and new wave all at once. That moved between hard rock and pure glossy pop without ever feeling inconsistent, because Debbie Harry's voice and personality held it all together through sheer force of presence. The album contains Heart of Glass, which was a genuine shock to the system when it was released. Blondie were supposed to be a punk band. Punk was supposed to be the sworn enemy of disco. And here was Blondie releasing a synth-driven, disco-influenced song that hit #1 on both sides of the Atlantic and became an instant pop classic. Critics were confused. Audiences were ecstatic. The song was, and remains, one of the most perfectly constructed pop songs ever made. In 1981, Blondie released Rapture, which incorporated extended rap verses at a time when most of mainstream America had barely heard of rap music, and it became the first song featuring rap to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Debbie Harry was ahead of the cultural curve, not by a little bit, but by years. And she made it all look completely effortless, which is the most impressive part of everything she accomplished. The songs you need from Blondie and Debbie Harry are Heart of Glass, Call Me, Rapture, One Way or Another, The Tide is High, Atomic, and Hanging on the Telephone. Every single one is a small masterpiece of craft, cool, and the specific kind of intelligence that disguises itself as pure entertainment. Number 7. Patti Smith. Because the night... We are going to go now to New York City in the early 1970s, to a downtown art scene that was raw and broke and absolutely electric with ideas, to a woman who walked into rock music from the world of poetry and visual art and completely changed what rock music was allowed to be. She did not approach the genre as a fan trying to participate. She approached it as a poet who needed a louder instrument for what she had to say. And the result was something the rock world had never encountered before and has been trying to fully process ever since. We are talking about the woman who is widely and correctly called the godmother of punk. We are talking about Patti Smith. Patricia Lee Smith was born in Chicago, Illinois in December of 1946. She grew up in New Jersey and came to New York City in the late 1960s, broke and burning with the kind of ideas that cannot be contained in the life that was planned for you. She found her people in the downtown art scene, formed one of the great creative partnerships in American art history with photographer Robert Mapplethorpe, and began performing her poetry over rock guitar at venues like CBGB and Max's Kansas City. What she was doing did not have a name yet. It was too new and too deliberately outside every existing category. Eventually, people would call it punk. But what Patti Smith was actually doing was something older and deeper. She was connecting rock music to a tradition of literary rebellion that ran through Rimbaud and Blake and Ginsberg and Walt Whitman. In 1975, she released Horses, her debut album, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it changed the course of rock music. The album opens with a reimagining of Gloria that begins with one of the most startling, most quoted, most discussed opening lines in rock history. It goes on to be by turns beautiful and terrifying, funny and harrowing, intimate and transcendent. It proved once and for all that rock music had a mind as well as a body. That you could scream and quote Rimbaud in the same breath. That the electric guitar could carry philosophy as easily as it could carry a power chord. Rolling Stone named it one of the greatest albums ever made. Its influence on artists from Michael Stipe to Morrissey to PJ Harvey to 100 indie bands you love is simply impossible to overstate.
And touch me now, touch me now.
Patti Smith never chased commercial success, and the fact that Because the Night, co-written with Bruce Springsteen, reached number 13 in 1978 feels almost incidental to her larger purpose. Her importance has always been measured in influence rather than chart position in the sheer number of artists across multiple generations who point to her as the reason they believed it was possible to say something real with a guitar in their hands. The songs you need from Patti Smith are Gloria, Because the Night, People Have the Power, Dancing Barefoot, Frederick, and Redondo Beach. But more than any single song, listen to Horses as a complete album from beginning to end in one sitting. It is an experience. It is still, 50 years after its release, one of the most alive and vital records ever made. Number 6, Courtney Love, Hold Doll Parts. There is no artist on this list who generates more strong feelings than number 6. People have very loud opinions about her. They always have and they always will. Some of those opinions are fair. Some of them are the direct product of years of media coverage that held her to standards it never bothered applying to the male rock stars of her era. But here is the one thing that nobody who genuinely knows rock music can honestly dispute. Courtney Love made one of the greatest rock albums of the entire 1990s, and she made it under conditions that would have broken most people completely in half. That is the definition of a rock artist. Love Michelle Harrison was born in San Francisco in 1964. Her childhood was chaotic and difficult by any honest measure. She moved frequently between parents and between countries, always restless, always searching for something she could not quite name. She arrived in Los Angeles in the late 1980s and founded Hole in 1989 with guitarist Eric Erlandson. Over the next several years, she assembled a lineup, released a raw and confrontational debut album called Pretty on the Inside, and built a reputation as one of the most volatile, most compelling, and most genuinely unpredictable live performers in the entire alternative rock underground. Critics did not know what to do with her. Audiences could not take their eyes off her. Both of those things are signs of a real artist. Then came 1994. Then came Live Through This. Released on April 12th, and just 4 days after the death of her husband Kurt Cobain, Live Through. This is the album that defines Courtney Love's legacy as an artist, regardless of everything else surrounding her story. It is a record of extraordinary emotional ferocity, songs about femininity and rage and vulnerability, and the specific exhausting experience of being a woman who is too much for every room she walks into. Doll Parts is devastating in its quiet ache, a song about wanting to be wanted by someone who sees through you, that is constructed almost entirely out of emotional truth. Violet is a cyclone of noise and pain and barely contained fury. Miss World is one of the most quietly brutal songs about the performance of womanhood ever written by anyone in any genre. The album was critically acclaimed immediately upon release, then subjected to years of revisionist dismissal, driven largely by things that had nothing to do with the music itself, and then reevaluated and recognized once again as the masterpiece it clearly, undeniably is. Courtney Love held her own in the most male-dominated music scene of the 20th century's final decade, while the entire media establishment was actively rooting against her. That takes a particular kind of strength that deserves to be named plainly and acknowledged without qualification. The songs you need from Courtney Love and Hole are Doll Parts, Violet, Miss World, Celebrity Skin, Malibu, and Awful. Number 5, Hayley Williams, Paramore, Misery Business.
I'm in the business of misery, let's take it from the top. She's got a body.
Everything we have covered so far belongs to the foundational era of female rock. The women who cracked the door open, who kicked it off its hinges, who built the house that every subsequent generation of female rock artists has lived in. But rock does not belong only to the past. Every generation gets its own queens. And for the generation that grew up in the 2000s, the generation of MySpace and emo and pop punk and finding your people online, there is one name above all others, one name that still makes people feel 17 again the moment they hear the first chord. That name is Hayley Williams.
2 weeks away, caught on fire. She's got it out for me, but I wear the biggest.
Hayley Nicole Williams was born in Meridian, Mississippi on December 27, 1988. She moved to Franklin, Tennessee as a teenager and began working with the musicians who would eventually become Paramore. She was 14 years old when she started rehearsing with the band. 14. By the time their major label debut, All We Know Is Falling, came out in 2005, she was 16. By the time their breakout album, Riot, dropped in 2007, she was 18 years old and already fronting one of the most talked about rock bands in the world. Most 18-year-olds are figuring out their college major. Hayley Williams was headlining tours. Riot is a defining album of its era. It captures something very specific about what it felt like to be young and frustrated and full of feelings that had nowhere to go in the mid-2000s. Misery Business is the most famous song on it. That opening guitar riff, which lands like a punch, za, followed by Hayley's voice cutting through everything around it with absolute clarity and ferocity. The chorus is absolutely undeniable, the kind of hook that lodges in your brain and refuses to leave for the rest of the day. Still Into You from their 2013 self-titled album showed an entirely different range. Warm, joyful, melodically adventurous. And the synth-pop-influenced After Laughter in 2017 surprised everyone by hiding the band's darkest lyrical content underneath its most cheerful, colorful sonic landscape. What separates Hayley Williams from being simply a very talented rock vocalist is her extraordinary, restless, relentless artistic evolution. She did not stay frozen in 2007. She grew in public, through difficult personal periods, through lineup changes, and through creative experiments that did not always land exactly right, and she came out the other side each time with something new and real to offer. Her 2020 solo project Petals for Armor is one of the most personal and emotionally courageous records any rock artist has made in recent memory. The songs you need from Hayley Williams and Paramore are Misery Business, Decode, Ignorance, The Only Exception, Still Into You, Hard Times, Rose-Colored Boy, and from her solo work, Simmer and Sudden Desire. Number 4, Ann Wilson, Heart Barracuda. We have talked about rebellion. We have talked about emotional truth. We have talked about mysticism and mythology. Now it is time to talk about pure, unadulterated, wall-shaking power, because there is one voice on this entire list that, when it is at full strength, sounds like the most powerful instrument that has ever been pointed at a rock audience. Not the loudest, the most powerful. There is a difference, and Ann Wilson of Heart embodies that difference better than anyone in the history of the genre. And Crazy on You, Magic Man, Little Queen Alone, What About Love, and These Dreams. Number 3, Stevie Nicks' Edge of 17.
Just like the wide-winged dove sings a song.
Some musicians are talented, some are iconic, some transcend both of those categories entirely and become something that does not have a proper word in the English language. Stevie Nicks belongs in that third group. She is one of the most recognizable, most beloved, most genuinely mysterious presences in the history of popular music. She is the woman who made flowing shawls and platform boots look like armor. She is the woman who made mysticism feel like the most natural and reasonable thing in the world. She is, in the words of countless fans and critics who have tried and partially failed to describe her, a witch, and she has always taken that as the highest possible compliment.
Just like a white-winged dove sings the songs as I
Stephanie Lynn Nix was born in Phoenix, Arizona on May 26, 1948. She met Lindsey Buckingham in high school, and the two became musical partners, then romantic partners, then one of the most complicated and creatively explosive relationships in rock history. In 1975, they both joined Fleetwood Mac, and the chemistry between all 5 members of that band produced something genuinely historic. Their 1977 album Rumors was recorded while 2 of the band's couples were simultaneously breaking apart, while members were struggling with addiction, while the entire personal fabric of the group was coming undone in real time. The result was one of the greatest albums ever made, over 40 million copies sold worldwide, and it still sounds as heartbreaking and beautiful today as it did the day it was released.
hauntingly familiar.
Stevie Nicks contributed some of the most beloved songs on that album, Dreams, which became a viral phenomenon decades later when it soundtracked a man skateboarding down a highway with a bottle of cranberry juice, is pure Stevie, effortless, hypnotic, carrying an undercurrent of real sadness beneath its smooth and beautiful surface. Gold Dust Woman is darker and stranger, a song about addiction and loss that sounds like it was written in a candlelit room at midnight. The Chain, which opens with one of the most recognizable bass lines in rock, is a warning and a plea and a promise all at once, a song that means something different every single time you hear it.
But the sea does not change.
And as a solo artist, Stevie Nicks was equally extraordinary. Edge of 17, with its relentless guitar riff, is one of the most powerful rock songs ever recorded by anyone of any gender. Stand Back, Leather and Lace, Talk to Me, each one demonstrates the full range of a songwriter who could move from hard rock fury to whispered intimacy without ever losing what made her voice so distinctive and so irreplaceable. In 2019, she became the first woman ever inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, once with Fleetwood Mac and once as a solo artist. No other woman has achieved that distinction since. The songs you need from Stevie Nicks are Dreams, Gold Dust Woman, Rhiannon, The Chain, Edge of 17, Stand Back and Landslide, which is as close to a perfect song as this genre has ever produced. Number 2, Janis Joplin, Piece of My Heart.
Oh, honey, like you, the only man I ever wanted and I ever.
If Joan Jett is the queen of defiant, unapologetic rebellion, then Janis Joplin is the queen of something else entirely. Something deeper, something that does not have a clean or easy name. The closest word might be truth. Because when Janis Joplin opened her mouth and sang, what came out was not a performance. It was confession. It was wound. It was the kind of radical, unfiltered emotional honesty that most people spend their entire lives running away from. And Janis Joplin ran straight toward it every single time she stepped onto a stage. Janis Lynn Joplin was born on January 19, 1943, in Port Arthur, Texas. She grew up an outsider in every sense of the word. Too weird for the small town she came from, too loud, too unconventional, too much of everything for a world that wanted her to be less. Her classmates bullied her relentlessly. At one point during her time in college, her fellow students at the University of Texas actually voted her ugliest man on campus, a cruelty so deliberate, so breathtakingly small-minded, that it is almost impossible to hold in your mind without feeling physically sick. And yet, from that cruelty, from that pain, from that lifelong experience of being rejected by every room she walked into, Janis Joplin built something extraordinary. She built a voice that the world had never heard before and has never quite heard since. She moved to San Francisco in the mid-1960s and joined Big Brother and the Holding Company. In 1967, at the Monterey Pop Festival, she delivered a performance of Ball and Chain so raw, so electrifying, so viscerally emotional that the audience went completely silent for 2 full seconds before erupting into an ovation that seemed like it might never stop. Dia Pennebaker, who was filming the festival, captured Mama Cass Elliot in the audience watching Janis perform. Mouth open wide, tears on her face, completely undone. That footage tells you everything you need to know about what Janis Joplin could do to a room full of people who thought they had already seen everything. She became the highest paid female rock performer in the world by 1969, earning $150,000 per show. She sold out Madison Square Garden. She headlined Woodstock. She was at the absolute peak of her powers. And then, on October 4th, 1970, Janis Joplin was found dead in her hotel room in Los Angeles at just 27 years old. Her posthumous album Pearl hit #1 and stayed there for 9 weeks. The songs you need to know from Janis Joplin are Piece of My Heart, Me and Bobby McGee, Cry Baby, Mercedes-Benz, Cosmic Blues, and Summertime. Each one a masterclass in emotional transparency. Each one a gift she left behind for a world that was not done needing her. Number 1, Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll. We begin where any great rock story absolutely must begin, with the woman who is perhaps the single greatest embodiment of rock and roll attitude that the music world has ever produced. The woman who was rejected by 23 different record labels, who built her own label from scratch, who hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for 7 consecutive weeks, and who still takes the stage tonight with the same ferocity she had at 16 years old. We begin with Joan Jett. Joan Jett was born in Wynwood, Pennsylvania in 1958. It was clear that something different was happening. Most kids who pick up an instrument put it down within a year, so Joan Jett was performing on international stages before she turned 16. At 15, she co-founded the Runaways, one of the very first all-female rock bands to earn genuine mainstream attention. They toured Japan, they toured Europe, they recorded albums, and they blew audiences away night after night in venues that had no idea what was about to walk onto their stage. And then in 1979, the band broke up. Joan Jett was 20 years old, freshly out of the group, ready to go solo. One of the most important stories in all of rock and roll history. Joan Jett shot her solo debut to every major record label she reached, and one by one, they all said no. 23 labels signed her. 23 different executives looked at this woman with a guitar, a leather jacket, and the kind of raw talent that comes along once in a generation, and decided to pass. The reasons vary. Some said she was not commercial enough. Some said a solo female rock artist could not sell records. Every single one of them is catastrophically, historically wrong. Joan Jett did not cry about it. She did not give up. She did not go back to playing smaller venues or reinvent herself as something more profitable. She started her own record label. Co-founded with her manager, Kenny Laguna, became one of the most important independent labels in rock history. She released her album herself, and then in 1982, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts released I Love Rock and Roll, which spent 7 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. 7 years. The 23 executives who said no had ringside seats to one of the most satisfying comebacks the music business has ever witnessed. The songs you need to know from Joan Jett are I Love Rock and Roll, Bad Reputation, Cherry Bomb from her days with the Runaways, Do You Wanna Touch Me, and I Hate Myself for Loving You. But beyond the songs, what you need to understand about Joan Jett is what she represents. She is the patron saint of every musician who has ever told no. She is the living, breathing, still rocking proof that that the only person who gets to decide whether you belong in rock and roll is you. And rock and roll owes you a debt it will never fully be able to repay.